Lost in Time. A harmless investigation turns into an epic quest across time and space. Sarah Jane and the gang are separated by the enigmatic Shopkeeper to find themselves in 3 different time zones throughout history, doing battles against ghost hunters, Nazis, Tudors, and a mysterious parrot called Captain. Now, this is a time-traveling story. This actually made me think that this maybe was a mission that wasn't possible to complete. The idea of the gang being separated into different time zones and each one unsure about whether or not they might actually get home. This episode introduces us to the Shopkeeper. The actor who plays him does a brilliant job. He is a brilliant and interesting character. He was meant to be revealed in the end of Series 5, but even if he didn't appear in Series 5, he still would have been a great character. There are some theories going on that the Shopkeeper was a Time Lord known as the Corsair, which I think would have been great. In fact, that would explain everything that he does in this episode. And hey, you gotta love the parrot. Unlike any other episode of the Sarah Jane Adventures, or in Doctor Who in general, this episode features 3 sections of time. Clyde goes to World War II, Ronnie goes to the time of Queen Jane Grey, and Sarah Jane goes to a haunted house. There is no main monster in this episode. There's not even one alien or monster in any of the segments. They are basically sections of history being tampered with by a collection of items known as the Chronosteel. That is one of the things I like about this episode. It's like they were collecting parts of a deadly weapon. I wonder if that was going to be used in the Series 5 finale. I don't know. I think for me, Clyde in World War II was the best time segment. I like these stories set during Victorian time or during the World War, and I like his scenes with George, this schoolboy who spies on the Nazis. It's like watching a children's spy watch series which I used to watch in school. I thought the leader was going to talk all diabolical, all that type of evil, mean soldier people, but he isn't. He actually talks like a proper gentleman. That is neat. I especially love the moment where Clyde stands up to the Nazis with his touchscreen phone. Genius. Ronnie with Queen Jane was probably the sweetest part of the story. Again, I thought it was going to go, what are you doing here? What do you mean? Witchcraft, blah blah blah. But we don't get a lot of that. Ronnie and Jane actually get along pretty well, like good friends or as equals. And if there's one thing I like about this segment, it actually got me into researching that time, especially when it comes to Catholics, Protestants and small royalties. Plus, Ronnie looks gorgeous in that dress. And yes, I think I should say that Sarah Jane's time zone was probably the weakest part of the episode, but it did have some interesting moments, like the ghosts are actually ghosts from the future. That's new. And I have to say, the girl she spends time with, Emily Morris, she's actually a pretty good character, and she's played by a pretty good actress. And I do also like how her story development was executed in the time segment as well as the story's climax. Just call it a wibbly wobbly timey-wimey story. Lost in Time, in my opinion, is what I would consider the closest Doctor Who story in the Sarah Jane Adventures. Time travel, history interference, and an action-packed adventure for all of the main characters. Each segment tells a pretty cool story, and each one has a really great list of supporting characters. And it does give me an interest in researching some of these segments. I would consider this as an interesting learning tool for kids, featuring good historical characters, and I'd say, if there are any kids who should come across this, I can guarantee that this will be an interesting way to get kids into historical education, as well as an action-packed story. Feel free to jump through the time portal yourself and experience history for yourself.